The 60th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows. The city sprawled below like a kingdom. James signed contracts worth millions. Power, success, everything he'd worked for. By the door stood a cleaning woman, old, tired, coughing into her fist. He never looked up. She was invisible, part of the furniture, like the walls. Her name was Maria, 58 years old. She'd cleaned these offices for 12 years. Started at 5 a.m. when the building was empty and dark, finished at noon when people like James arrived, fresh and ambitious, ready to conquer their day. She was a ghost to them. They looked through her, around her, never at her. James was 42, CEO of a tech startup that had gone public last year. Forbes had called him a visionary. His apartment cost more than most people earned in a lifetime. He had everything: cars, houses, a calendar packed with important meetings and important people. But sometimes, late at night when he couldn't sleep, he'd stand at his window and feel hollow. Like all his achievements were just noise covering up something fundamental he'd lost along the way. He never understood what. This morning, Maria's cough sounded worse than usual. James barely noticed. He was reviewing quarterly projections, his mind already 3 moves ahead in the corporate chess game. The cough became a wet, rattling sound. Still, he didn't look up. Maria steadied herself against the doorframe. The room tilted slightly. She'd been feeling this way for weeks now, months maybe. The pain in her chest that wouldn't go away, the exhaustion that sleep couldn't fix. But doctors cost money. Taking time off cost money. She had rent, utilities, medicine for her daughter's asthma. She couldn't afford to be sick. She moved to empty his trash can. Her hands trembled. She tried to hide it, but the tremor made the plastic bag rustle loudly. For the first time that morning, James looked up, really looked up. He saw her face, actually saw it, the grayish pallor, the sunken eyes, the way she gripped the edge of his desk to stay upright, the sheen of sweat on her forehead despite the air conditioning. Something in his chest twisted. "Are you okay?" The words came out before he thought about them. Maria froze, started, like she'd forgotten people could actually speak to her. "I'm fine, sir. Sorry to disturb you." "You don't look fine." He stood up. "When was the last time you saw a doctor?" She looked at him with confusion, then something like fear. "I'm okay, really. I'll just finish here. Sit down." It came out more command than request, but his voice was gentle. "Please." Maria hesitated, then slowly lowered herself into the chair across from his desk, the chair where venture capitalists and board members usually sat. She looked so small in it, so fragile. "How long have you been sick?" "I'm not." "Please don't lie." His voice was soft. "I'm not going to fire you. I'm asking because I'm concerned." The word felt strange in his mouth. When was the last time he'd been concerned about another human being? Really concerned, not just the performative concern you showed in meetings. Something in Maria's face crumbled. 2 months, maybe 3. "And you haven't seen a doctor?" She laughed, a bitter sound. "With what money do you know what I make cleaning these offices? Do you know what a doctor visit costs without insurance? I can't afford to be sick, sir. I can't afford to miss work. I can't afford to know what's wrong because then I'd have to afford to fix it." The words hit him like physical blows. He'd spent $2,000 on dinner last week. Hadn't even thought about it. Just handed over his card like it was Monopoly money. She made in a month what he spent on shoes. "I'll pay for it." The words came out before he'd fully formed the thought. "What?" "A doctor. Tests. Whatever you need, I'll cover it." Maria stared at him. "Why would you do that?" "Because," he struggled to find words, "because I've walked past you every day for how long? A year? 2 years? And never once saw you as a person. Because I'm tired of being the kind of man who doesn't see people. Because this matters more than any contract I'll sign today. Because it's the right thing to do," he said simply. That afternoon, instead of his 4 o'clock meeting, James took Maria to the hospital, sat in the waiting room while they ran tests, made phone calls to find the best specialists. used his connections, his money, his power, for the first time in years, for something that actually mattered. The diagnosis came 3 days later. Pneumonia. Advanced, treatable, thank God, but she'd been weeks away from it becoming something much worse. The doctor said she would have died if she'd waited much longer. James paid for everything, the treatment, 6 weeks of paid leave. When she protested, he raised her salary, found better health insurance for all the cleaning staff, started actually noticing them, learning their names, seeing them as human beings instead of background scenery. And something strange happened. The emptiness he felt at night started to fade, not because of applause or profit margins or his name in the papers, because he'd looked up from his desk and seen another human being, because he'd stopped long enough to care. Maria returned to work after 6 weeks, healthy, color back in her cheeks. She tried to thank him, but words felt inadequate for what he'd done. "You saved my life," she said simply. James shook his head. "No, you saved mine. I just didn't know I was dying too." 6 months later, James had changed completely. Not externally. He still ran the company, still had the corner office. But internally, he was different, unrecognizable from the man who'd never looked up from his desk. He'd started a healthcare program for all building staff, not through the company, personally. Learned the names of janitors, security guards, cafeteria workers. Actually saw them, asked about their families, their lives, their struggles. Maria became a friend. She brought him homemade tamales sometimes, told him stories about her daughter, her grandson, life outside the 60th floor. Other executives started noticing, started asking questions. How had he become lighter, happier, more present? One by one, they began looking up too, seeing the invisible people around them. The ripple spread outward. One act of attention creating waves of change. One act of attention, 2 lives changed, an infinite ripple. James learned that true wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in the lives you touch, the people you see, the moments you stop rushing long enough to care. Maria survived, thrived. James found meaning. Who are you not seeing? Who passes through your life invisible? Empathy begins with stopping, with looking up, with seeing. One person can change the world, starting with the person right in front of you.